K-State Culturally is virtual programming centered on celebrating, uplifting, and educating the Wildcat community through the lens of communities of color who are affiliated and connected to Kansas State University. Well, hello, my name is Jessica Elmore, and I'm with the K-State Alumni Association. I am super excited today for Foodie Fridays. Today is National Red Wine Day, and we have Jennifer McDonald from Jenny Dawn Cellars that's located in Wichita, Kansas, that's going to be joining us today. So how are you doing today, Jennifer?
Doing well. How are you, Jessica?
I'm doing fantastic. I've been waiting to interview you because I met you in Manhattan when you did a wine tasting, and I've been following you on social media, and you are like blowing up. So I'm like, yes, I get to talk to Jennifer today.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be visiting with you as well.
Great. So tell me, how did you become a winemaker? Like, how did you get started?
Absolutely. So my journey into winemaking kind of just happened and grew through the love and passion that I had for wine. So I actually started my career in human resources and did that for 12 years and was successful, but I always felt like I was hitting this glass ceiling and wanted truly become an entrepreneur. And okay, if I'm going to open a business, I want this business to be something that I absolutely love. And wine has always been my passion for a very long time. Even the growing side of the business, so the viticulture side of, raising grapes and growing fruit for winemaking, it truly came from that passion. But I had to go back to school and really educate myself on the process of winemaking. In 2014, I started out as a home winemaker. I wanted a hobby, something fun to do. And I thought, let's make wine, because I was managing my family's budget and I noticed I was spending a lot of money on wine. So I wanted to see if I could make wine for less than what I was paying on the retail shelf. And I actually was successful. I made 12 different wines, first from kits, and then I started sourcing fruit from local growers. And then I actually ended up sourcing juice from some of the high-end California wineries. And that's when I started winning some awards.
Wow.
And through that, I would gift my wines to people for their birthdays or special occasions. And everyone enjoyed the wine. So I started getting feedback. Well, Jennifer, do you think that you would ever pursue this as a career? And that's when the light bulb hit. So I felt like I had the art of wine down, so the basis of winemaking, but then I had to go back and really understand the science of winemaking. So I started taking classes online at UC Davis, and then I also enrolled in the K-State Masters of Agribusiness program, where I honestly got to understand kind of the business side of what it would take to own a business, helping me with financial projections, understanding markets. I learned so much through that program. I had the opportunity to write a thesis, and I chose consumer wine preferences. And through that study, we looked at wines that were made from me, wines that were made from California wineries, and then wines that were made from Kansas growers. And my wines and the California wines kind of came up on top. And so that gave me kind of a solid foundation for a business plan that if I was going to start a winery, I was going to source local fruits and juices, but make them in my style, but then also work with California wineries to get more of what I call noble grapes to make wine. And so through a lot of hard work, I went out to California and started making wine there in 2017. And then 2 years later, in November of 2019, I was able to open up Jenny Dawn Cellars here in Wichita. But it was a long road, a lot of education. I'm big on food and wine preferences and pairings. And so I actually was able to sit for the first level sommelier exam, and I passed that in 2017 as well. So I'm a winemaker, I'm a somm. I'm the first African-American commercial winemaker in the state of Kansas, actually, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, Congratulations. Oh my gosh. Well, one, shout out to K-State Global Campus. We love them.
Yes.
Gosh, that's
Yes.
fantastic. So I know your winery is considered an urban winery. Like, what does that mean? And then, like, if when I go to Wichita, like, what kind of experience am I going to get at Jenny Dawn?
Yeah, so we are an urban winery, meaning that we are making wine here in the city and we are not physically attached to a vineyard. So a lot of the farm wineries that you traditionally see in Kansas and throughout the United States are a parcel of land that has the vineyard where they're actually growing the grapes on site, and then they have a building where they're actually making the wine. So there's pros and cons to that model. We saw a lot of pros in being part of the city where people could come to us easily. We're within close proximity to our customer base. And then we get to source our grapes and fruits from the finest growers in the nation. So I have several growers here in Kansas that I work with, as well as out in California. And we have the ability to kind of work with anyone for getting our grapes.
Fantastic.
And so the experience that you can find here at Jenny Dawn Cellars is one of a kind. We have a beautiful winery that highlights the color purple. So when you come into the winery, you'll definitely be greeted with a lot of beautiful purple, but friendly smiles. We pride ourselves on having very knowledgeable staff guiding you through the wine tasting experience. We also have flights. So when you come into the winery, you have the opportunity to taste 4 different wines that we've paired with cheeses, and it's truly a great experience. And if you catch me on a day that I'm actually making wine, you can see that full process as well.
Wow. Oh, that's exciting. So, as I mentioned earlier, it is National Red Wine Day. And so I know really little about wine, except for the fact that I love wine. So I want to know if you can give us some tips on picking a great red wine.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought I would showcase 3 different red wines because they are all 100% unique. So I'm going to start with one of our newest wines, actually. It's called Black Locomotive, and this wine uses Crimson Cabernet grapes. What's unique about Crimson Cabernet is it's a hybrid grape that was actually made in a lab where they crossed Cabernet Sauvignon and Norton. So Norton is highly grown here in the Midwest. It's actually Missouri's grape. This makes a beautiful, bold wine that can be paired with, steaks and juicy hamburgers, and is highly aromatic. It's going to be kind of a deep purple color, so it's a rich and bold wine. I named it Black Locomotive because we're at a train station, and I feel like the Black Locomotive has to be bold and strong to, haul all of the trains and freight. And this wine, like I said, is very bold. So this is a fun red wine. If you want something a little bit lighter, Pinot Noir is actually a great wine. It's a noble grape from Burgundy. What I love about Pinot is the nose and the color. So I actually have Pinot in my glass here. It's a beautiful ruby color, and the nose is going to be highly like cherry, cranberry, and then this earthiness that I personally love. We got these grapes from a grower in Russian River Valley out in California. This wine, I have been making Pinot Noir for 3 years, and I absolutely love that wine. It can be highly versatile. It can be paired with, chicken, pork, lighter steaks, but then also cheeses, pasta. It's just one of those wines that you can sip all year round and completely enjoy. Then the third red wine that I'm going to highlight is called Wichita Passion, and this is actually a fruit wine. So we use blackberries to make this wine. So this is going to be kind of a really pretty red color. So we had almost a purple with the Crimson Cabernet Black Locomotive, and then a ruby with the Pinot Noir. With the Wichita Passion, our blackberry wine, it is going to be this brighter, red, and it's going to have notes of cherry and blackberry as well as floral. What's unique about this wine is it's semi-sweet, but yet tart. So it's kind of a fun wine that you would chill and you could serve throughout the summer. It's a great, what I call patio sipper. And it's delightful with, you could even pair it with some light desserts, but then also cheeses and entrees. So 3 different wines, 3 different grape varieties. Red wines are one that can be super sweet as well as, highly dry and tannic. And so I kind of picked 3 that fall into all of those spectrums.
Fantastic. Ooh, I'm excited. I can't wait to try some of your red wines. So once again, you're giving us some really great information. And I saw that you have like a monthly wine education class.
I
Tell us
do.
more about that. How do we learn about that?
So during the pandemic, I've had to take my classes virtual. And so we're going to be kicking off a new series of virtual wine tastings in August. The coronavirus has somewhat, changed how we operate and do business. So I was able before the pandemic to host these classes here at the winery, and they were a lot of fun and we came together. But now that we're really growing our national brand and audience and footprint, I'm offering these classes virtual. So definitely follow us on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. And particularly, we have all of the dates that those wine classes, we have all those dates that we post on those 2 social media platforms. So definitely stay tuned. What I love about WINEcation is we feature 6 different wines, wines that I've made, but also other growers that I kind of admire have made. And we pair them with 3 different food offerings, and then we talk about them. So we sip the wine, we nibble on the food, and we talk about what we like, and then I provide you history about how the wines were made. So here at Jenny Dawn Cellars, we really focus on kind of that wine education and that wine history to just grow people's appreciations for wine.
That's fantastic. That sounds like a really great virtual, date night or girls, kind of experience. Yeah, that's awesome.
We're all trying to find things to do that we can social distance and be safe and all of that. So that's definitely something fun to check out.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. So as an entrepreneur and a successful one, what kind of words of wisdom or advice do you have for those who are entrepreneurs or even for our young alumni who are looking to inspire and they're just getting started on their journey? What kind of advice would you share?
I have a lot of advice. I think some of the most important pieces of advice that I've received is 1, don't go alone. Find mentors, find advisors, find people who you trust to give you positive feedback, but then also hard truths. So I've been lucky to have a really great group of mentors that have, taken me under where I feel comfortable asking them questions and getting honest feedback. Sometimes what we're doing and may not be open to other people's ideas or criticisms, but you really do have to take that in, soak it in, and learn and grow. Know that the road is going to be challenging. I hit so many roadblocks throughout the journey, but to always have faith that you're moving in the right direction and to never give up. That would be my biggest piece of advice. Is I feel like some people give up too early and too soon, and they're right at the cusp of, breaking through and accomplishing that goal, but they just give up. The other piece of advice is try and be as well balanced as possible. I'm saying that mostly for myself because sometimes these journeys can be all consuming, and find ways to really nurture relationships, your physical health, your financial health, and try and be well-rounded throughout the journey. And then lastly, have fun and have a strong why. So for me, coming into the winery every day and being able to talk about the wines and working with customers is fun. it's something that I really, really enjoy. And then I have a strong sense of purpose. So I think having fun with what you're doing and having a strong why will really get you through those challenges. So that'd be my advice. I know for me, I saw that there was a lack of diversity and inclusion in the wine industry, and I wanted to change that. I wanted to inspire others to follow their dreams. And then also to create kind of this unique atmosphere and an environment that wasn't here before I started Jenny Dawn Cellars, are kind of some of my ways. And so that keeps me kind of grounded and purposeful during those challenging times. So that would be kind of my advice. Yeah.
That's great advice. Yeah, that is awesome advice. I'm glad you mentioned about being like, a woman and a Black woman winemaker, because it's like a very small group. And so I wanted to know, like, how do you build community? Like, how do you move through, the wine industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to meet some other African-American women winemakers or even sommeliers through Hughes Society. So Hughes Society is a group that kind of brings people together. Also the African-American Vintners Association. So they've been really helpful at connecting us. But I was able to go to the Black Wine Experience and Essence Festival last year, where I got to meet this powerful group of winemakers. And it's a small community of us. And, they're mostly in California. There's some out on the East Coast as well. But it's nice to know that you're not alone. And that's been really helpful. And I have connected with quite a few of the Kansas wineries here through the Kansas Winemakers and Grape Growers Association. And they've been very helpful from an education standpoint as well. So, sometimes you have to be willing to walk into rooms where no one looks like you at all. But being in Kansas, I've had those experiences in HR. So it wasn't something that I wasn't used to or accustomed to. But in 2020, we just have to see a little bit more diversity in the wine industry.
Definitely. That's fantastic. That's awesome. So, of course, with all great businesses is a great team. I'd love to hear about your team.
Yeah. So I am grateful for the team that I have been able to, bring together, that all enjoy kind of the wine experience, and they're on board about, our mission is that wine education and creating an environment where everyone feels comfortable kind of exploring wine and learning about the wine's process. So right now I have an assistant manager that works evenings and weekends. So when I'm not at the winery, they're kind of there filling in. And then I have a group of people that kind of work for me part-time, and then folks that kind of come in and work with me on the winemaking side of the business. So I'm fortunate to have a strong team that, like I said, really enjoys wine and creating a unique experience for people when they come into the winery.
That's awesome. Now, you have a beautiful picture of your family and your website. So how's family involved?
Yes, so I'm grateful that my family, supports the business in every way possible. So my son and my husband are actually helping out in our orchard and vineyard. So we planted grapes and fruit about 2 years ago. And so they're out there tending to that, watering, and that, is so helpful. And then my husband actually brings the kids in and they'll do labeling and capsuling. So some of the end processes of winemaking and the bottling of the wine. And they love to see, people at the winery and enjoying the product and knowing that, mom's hard work is actually truly paying off. So my daughter actually had the opportunity to travel out to Napa with me when I was making wine out there. And, that was a neat experience for her to see how I was blending the wines and creating that final product. So I'm hoping that, you know, my kiddos might want to come work for me someday. They're young, they're 14 and 12, so have a ways to go before they could do that full time. But I think as a parent, you just want your kiddos to find something that they're passionate about. And if that happens to be the same thing as you, you know, I think that's a blessing.
That's awesome. What a great legacy you're building for your family. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my final question is, of course, because we're K-State and we love our purple, as you see, you've got the purple hair, but I recognize that your brand is purple. So I just kind of want to know, how did you go about selecting purple for your brand?
Yes. So here at Jenny Dawn Cellars, we pride ourselves in being a premium wine brand. So purple is the color of royalty. And then purple is also the color of grapes. And then lastly, because I am a K-State alum, I felt like I've seen a lot of men gravitate towards purple and women. So I felt like it was this universal color that really signified the essence of my brand. So, yeah.
Yay! Well, you know, we love it. And so cannot wait. I already got my bottle right here. It's not red wine, but I got mine here.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so I'm super jazzed about it. So, but everyone definitely check out Jenny Dawn Cellars. Jennifer, tell us again how we can find more about you and your wines.
Absolutely. So our website is jennydawn.cellars.com. We have a wealth of information on the actual website, but we're very active and engaged on social media. So we're actually on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So definitely follow us, like our pages, and then hopefully you can come see me at the winery in Wichita.
That'll be fantastic. I know I'm going to visit, especially when the whole COVID situation dies down. I'll make sure.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to make sure I get my glass of wine. Once again, it's National Red Wine Day. If that's your thing, and if you're of legal age, definitely enjoy this special day. Thank you so much, Jennifer. You are fantastic, K-Stater. We are so proud, and we look forward to seeing your business grow leaps and bounds. Thank you so much for just continuing to build such great things in the state of Kansas and for K-Staters and just the community all over. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for allowing me to share my story.